For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to Ambassador's Brief, a new series on StratNewsGlobal, where we talk to foreign envoys who run missions in New Delhi. It's an opportunity to get to know diplomats as well as countries which would otherwise normally not be found in the normal news cycle. Our special guest today is the Ambassador of Azerbaijan to India, Dr. Ashraf Shikhaliyev. Thank you so much, Dr. Shikhaliyev, for joining us. It's a real pleasure to have you with us. And, I'd like to begin the conversation with a question that struck me. You're a qualified civil engineer. You have a doctorate in civil engineering. You also have a master's in business administration. What made you decide to get into diplomacy?
That's a very good question. You see, life sometimes is evolving in unpredictable way. So I was the oil engineer, and we are oil country. And at that time, when I defended my PhD thesis, by the way, that was in the area of ecology, I was invited to join the foreign ministry because the head of economics section, he thought that he would need an oil professional on his team. And I gladly accepted it and never regretted that decision.
I know, I saw that you've already been very senior positions in the government, in that sense. If we were to now look at bilateral relations between India and Azerbaijan, would you like to sort of, classify the relationship between on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is like absolutely excellent and there's no problems at all, and 1 is like bad news, we don't want to be here? Where would you put this relationship between Azerbaijan and India, and why?
That is another interesting question. You see, ambassadors, we should be a little bit skeptical. If we judge the relationship as 5, which is excellent, you reach the absolute peak.
Exactly.
There is no way to grow.
It cannot get better.
Yeah. That is why I do not judge our work. There are some achievements that we are proud of. There are some achievements in bilateral relationship that we are happy of. And I leave to you and to audience to judge at the end of this interview for themselves.
That's a good answer, I think. One of the things that I also noticed is that, our trade relationship has been really going up at a rapid pace. It's been 15, 20%. It's been going up every year, which is a very positive thing. But, there is a balance of trade issue, because I think we import more than we export. What do you think can be done to sort of try and balance this and also improve it even more? What are the steps where maybe India can do something, maybe Azerbaijan can do something? Would you like to list a couple of steps that you feel can be done but has not yet been done?
You see, when you balance big and small, there is always a challenge. When you balance two economies that are of the same size, that is achievable. But India is the 5th largest economy of the world. It is $3.5 trillion economy. Azerbaijan is, last year, GDP was $79 billion US. You cannot balance, because the demands of 1.4 billion people India is much more than what Azerbaijan can offer. And what India can offer to Azerbaijan demand is much less than what India can offer. That is why with the big and small, you cannot balance it. You can diversify.
Mm-hmm.
You can streamline the trade between the two countries to the benefit and priorities of both countries. And that is what's happening. If we look at the trade statistics, last year, it was the record between the two countries. We reached the trade turnover, $2 billion US.
Right.
Out of which we exported crude oil for $2 million tons of crude oil to India.
Right.
And it cost 1.6 billion US dollars. And the purchases from India was around 200 million US dollars, right? So if you look at the sales of crude, that was also on the peak for 10 years. So it increases. Is it a lot? It constitutes only 2% of what India is buying from the world, right? So there is potential, there is dynamic, we're growing in trade, and at the same time, I mean, you cannot balance these two.
I mean, I understand the way you put it. Once you explain it like that, I mean, a whole lot of other trade imbalances also sort of, make sense. Because it's if you're a bigger economy, it's difficult to balance the two. I understand your point, sir.
The same comes to visits of people. So tourists coming from India to Azerbaijan, you cannot expect the same amount of tourists coming from Azerbaijan to India, because population of Azerbaijan is 10.1 million people.
Approximately, okay.
Yeah. And so it can be more people always going from big India to Azerbaijan.
Right.
You can position yourself as attractive destination for Indian visitors. Right. That is.
But, I haven't had the pleasure of going to Azerbaijan, but I've visited some of the other, what were the former Soviet republics. I've been to Uzbekistan and I've been to Tajikistan a couple of times. I noticed that there is still a kind of a fondness, a friendly thing towards Indians for some reason.
The same with Azerbaijan.
But has that gone up? What is the general, do people in Azerbaijan think about India sometimes that way?
India, you see, Azerbaijan and India has long historic relationship, because Azerbaijan was on spice route.
Right.
From India, spice route was going through Azerbaijan to Europe. And in Azerbaijan, you would find Indian temple, the Atashkar temple.
Right.
It is translated home of fire. So the fire worshipping in old times was in Azerbaijan and in India. And this one particularly is Indian temple.
Right.
It is preserved by the government of Azerbaijan as museum. It is inscribed in the UNESCO heritage list. It is Indian heritage in Azerbaijan, right?
Okay.
And you would not have the temple in Azerbaijan if there were not Indians living in those times in Azerbaijan. And this is inscriptions on the entrance to that Atashkar temple.
Ah, okay.
Now, it shows that India is, yes, known as in Azerbaijan, it is respected in Azerbaijan, and I should say it is loved in Azerbaijan, because India gave to the world yoga, and there are so many practitioners of yoga in the world, in Azerbaijan as well. India gave fantastic cinematographer to the world, Bollywood and Tollywood. And there are so many lovers of Indian movies in Azerbaijan in particular.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
And one of them is me.
Oh.
I love Indian movies.
Well, that's nice. What was the last Indian movie that you've seen? Have you seen something here? Have you been to maybe a theater here?
Yes. I watch Indian movies, and particularly follow the movies being shot in Azerbaijan. And this is another story, because the Indian movies being shot in Azerbaijan, they increase the number of tourists between the two countries because of better awareness of Azerbaijan. Now, the beauty of Azerbaijan is that it is translated as the land of fire. Why it is the land of fire? Because in old times there were multiple places. It is an oil-rich country, and multiple places where gas was coming under the ground, and it was burning. So from that time, Azerbaijan derives its name as a land of fire. All right? And that is why now there is one place remained, that is Yanardağ, burning hill. If you Google, you will see it. It's burning day and night. That is one of the most favorite destinations for the tourists all over the world Indians in particular. They visit the Yanardağ burning hill, day and night, maybe 5,000 years burning. They visit the Atashkar, home of fire, temple, and so many places. Plus, it is, one of the most beautiful capitals of the world is Baku city. That is why Indian cinematographer, they come, they love shooting movies in Azerbaijan, and it increases business travel, it increases the tourism travel to Azerbaijan. Now we are connected by direct flights. 3 times a week, there is a flight by Azerbaijan Airlines to India. Delhi and Baku are connected. So it shows the interest in the market. Mm-hmm. It shows the growth of mutual travelers.
So we've talked about people-to-people ties. What about political ties? Do we have regular high-level contacts between the two countries?
That's a good question. They were visits at the level of foreign ministers.
Okay.
If we take a look, in 2018, there was a non-aligned movement summit in Baku, and Vice President of India, Mr. Naidu, Minister of External Affairs, Mr. Jaishankar, they visited Azerbaijan. Then, recently, end of last year, there were political consultations in Delhi, and Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Azerbaijan, Mr. Elnur Mamedov, he came. It was very successful political consultations in Delhi. Then he came again. He was invited to rise in a dialogue in the March of this year. Had a chain of bilateral meetings. Then, few days after, the Secretary West of Minister of External Affairs, Mr. Sanjay Verma, he will be going to Baku because there will be an online movement ministerial meeting in Baku, and he'll be heading delegation to Baku. Then, end of October, we'll be having Intergovernmental Commission meeting.
Right.
And the Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, Madam Anupriya Patel, she will be heading Indian delegation. And during that meeting, all aspects of bilateral economic relations will be discussed in Baku. So high-level visits are continuing, going.
No, I was looking at Azerbaijan on the map, and I noticed that it's right on the Caspian Sea. It's got a coast on the Caspian Sea, which is actually a closed sea. There is no,
True.
out of that.
Yeah.
I've always wondered where the water comes from, because if it's closed, then, but that's a different thing. But the Caspian Sea is going to be used as part of the international north-south transport corridor, I think.
Yes.
From Russia down, and it'll go past, I think it go via Baku and go down. But that corridor has been under discussion for almost 2 decades now, and I don't know what is moved. I think some small shipments have come, but beyond that, not much has happened. Do you think, A, why do you think there's a delay? And B, do you think once it is fully operational, it will add value to Azerbaijan, it will add value to India in a different way, or will it be trade as usual?
You see how it is.
Because if you put that line through, you come right down to Chabahar, I think, and then from there you can come through. I understand that there are so many countries and that it's a transshipment problem, that it's not just, a train, it's ship and then road and then train, and all kinds of things are involved. But 20 years is a long time.
That is true. That is true. But the good news is that on 17th of May, Russian Federation and Iran signed agreement on the construction of the missing railway link between city of Rasht and city of Astara on border of Azerbaijan. And with that construction of this railway link, the Indian exporters will bring their goods to ports of Iran, and then smoothly by railway will reach Russian Federation market and European market.
Okay.
And then there is no need to reload all the trucks. then go again reload on the railway. It will be very smooth operation. Now that construction will take 3 years, and it is hoped that end of 2026, early 2027, it will become operational.
Oh, okay.
Then the exporters, Indian exporters, they will be saving some 50% on time to reach those markets, and it will be some 40% cheaper.
Right.
So it would be very advantageous, and this corridor would attract a lot of goods from India and to India, from European and from Russian markets.
Mm-hmm. So definitely then both countries stand to benefit.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I was also thinking that the entire world has been impacted by this crisis in Ukraine. How has Azerbaijan been hit by the crisis? Has it been impacted at all?
You see, this conflict between Ukraine and Russia, it affected the whole world.
That's right.
The prices for food went up. The commodity prices increased. The tourism flows changed. The airlines started changing the routes of flights. So it affected global supplies, global transportation. It affected so many countries. In some way, we were also affected. But, on the other hand, if you look at the tourism to Azerbaijan, it is going on. If you look at the Indian tourism in particular to Azerbaijan, that is growing.
Oh, okay.
And that is growing. That is why the direct flights are being opened.
Okay.
Yeah. So it shows that, it didn't affect much tourism to Azerbaijan. If we speak about tourism, tourism is growing. Tourism is growing almost exponentially. If we look at the 2017 figures, the tourism from India to Azerbaijan was only 17,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Now tourism companies, even after pandemic years, they're looking for 1 million visitors from India to Azerbaijan annually.
1 million.
1 million.
Wow.
This is not my words. This is the words that I repeat, and they think that it is attainable target. Last year, half of it was COVID pandemic year.
That's right.
So restrictions were there. Last year, it was 75,000 visitors from India. Now, this year, figures I expect will be much higher, as Azerbaijan now on the Indian tourism market, it is the hot, desired tourism destination. It is a land of fire that Indians wish to visit. It is a country to which you can get easily e-visa. Even talking here, you can get e-visa from your mobile in 1 hour. It guaranteed in 3 hours, urgent visa, but majority of cases, majority of cases you get it as early as in 1 hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is easy to travel. It is not expensive to get that e-visa, even urgent e-visa, quite convenient. That stimulates travel to Azerbaijan. An increase in travel to Azerbaijan, it brings Indian weddings, it brings Indian business people. So the more people come as tourists, next time they come as business people. The business travelers, they bring their families next time. So it is kind of reinforcing each other. And of course, the special role is Indian cinematographer,
Of course.
the Bollywood and Tollywood.
Mm-hmm. What about students? You're a student of, you said civil engineering with oil. Would Indians want to go there and pick up something on the oil, how to drill oil, or could that be is the education system somewhere that Indians would go in for?
There are education systems. There are scholarships offered by the universities and government of Azerbaijan, and so many students from India, they come and study at their own expense. But the figures of Indian students studying in Azerbaijani university are not compared to those in the neighboring countries. They are much higher in those countries. Whether they study in the oil industry, I don't know. But I know that the tendency is that they prefer the medical sciences. Once again, there is a website of the Ministry of Education. It is called Study in Azerbaijan. Every young person from India willing to study in Azerbaijan can go to that website, choose the university of he prefers, and apply to it.
I'd like to conclude with one last question to you, sir. Is there something during your stay here so far, is there something that made you feel either really very surprised or really very pleased with what you were seeing, something that made you happy or something that made you unhappy? I mean, either of the two. Any one thing that you will remember for a long time, no matter where you go?
That's an interesting question. You see, as ambassador, as a person, your heart fills with happiness on some achievements, on some solemn occasions. So once I was invited to the wedding, and for the first time in my life, I saw what I saw in Indian movies, how the newlyweds are whirling, going around the fire. And of course, that was awesome. That filled my heart with happiness and the best wishes of happiness to this young couple. And they were, the bride, she was the daughter of the friend of mine. And this is one case. Another that I remember is that there was a young chef Olympiad in Kolkata very recently. And one cook from Azerbaijan, from Kasa cooking school, he participated. And he got into final. And we were kind of asking, does he have chance to get 1, 2, 3 places? Is he will be, among the winners? And nobody would answer you. They say that we don't know. It is the jury who is considering. So we went there to Kolkata, and they are bringing the envelopes and secretly, giving it to the conferencier, and he opens the envelope and he says, "Number 3, India." Everyone applaud. Oh. And the cook from India, the lady, she came, she got her award. Then number 2, Thailand. Everyone applauds. And when it came to number 1, the gold medal, number 1 gold medal goes to Azerbaijan. Oh. And I was I was filled with awe and happiness at that moment. Then the young cook from Azerbaijan, he got the gold medal, he got the major trophy, and he took it to Azerbaijan.
Wow.
That was a great achievement. But of course, there are so many times when you feel happy. The first flight between Delhi and Baku opened, you feel happy, you feel satisfied. You look at the statistics, the trade between the countries go to the record level, you feel happy. You have successful consultations of the Intergovernmental Commission, you feel happy. You have high-level visits, successful high-level visits, you feel happy. So if you look back, every achievement brings you a level of satisfaction, but at the same time, you feel that you should do more. You should do more to improve and strengthen economic ties between the countries, to strengthen the people-to-people ties.
On that, terribly happy note, I noticed that we really got excited over the whole thing. I do look forward to having you again on this show. And thank you so very much for, giving us the time. And for all the viewers that are watching, that was Dr. Ashraf Shikhaliyev, the Ambassador of Azerbaijan to India. And I do hope you like this particular show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And bouquets and big bats are all welcome in the comments below. Thank you, and we'll see you again.